Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to knit the Indian pillar stitch. Now this is a really pretty lacy pattern that lays flat and looks really pretty on the reverse side as well. So I'm going to show you how to knit this beautiful pattern in this tutorial. This is part of the Best Beginner Stitches series. To see the whole series, click on the link in the top right or in the description. I've got more details about this stitch on my website, including tips and tricks, knitting charts, and how to knit the stitch in the round. Link in the description. I'm using Paintbox Yarns Cotton DK in the color 422 or daffodil yellow. So you see how the Indian pillar stitch has a really open laciness to it? Well, we get that by using a larger pair of needles. So I'm using a pair of 5mm needles here. Normally with this yarn, I would use 4mm needles. So I've gone up 1mm in needle size. So you can go ahead and use 1 to 2mm needle size larger than what you would normally use for your yarn. And that's what gives the stitch that nice lacy quality. So you're going to cast on a multiple of 4 stitches plus 3. Now what that means is you're going to cast on a multiple of 4, so like 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and then you'll add 3 to it. So you might do 20 stitches plus 3 is 23 stitches. So cast on 23 stitches. Or you might use 28 as a multiple of 4 plus 3 is 31. So you would cast on 31 stitches, which is what I have done here. So go ahead and cast on a multiple of 4 plus 3. So I'm using a pair of circular needles here because these are the only needles that I have that are 5mm, but I'm going to be knitting back and forth. So ignore the fact that these are circular needles. I'm still knitting flat. So let's work our setup row. Our setup row is just purling all of our stitches. So let's do that. I'm going to bring my needle in, yarn up front, and just purl. So we're going to purl all of these stitches across the row. So I'm near the end of my setup row, and here's my last purl stitch. There we go, great. Okay, so the setup row is complete. I'll turn my needle over, and now we're ready to work row 1. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to knit 2 stitches. So here we go, knit 2. Great. And now we're going to make what's called a bobble, okay? And that's what the little nubby texture on the Indian pillar stitch is. So we're going to start by purling 3 together. So I'm going to bring the yarn from the back to the front because we're purling. And I'm going to purl these 3 stitches together, but watch closely. I'm going to go into these 3 stitches as if to purl. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to pull the stitch through. Here it is, okay? But I'm not going to drop it off of the needle, no. Instead, I'm going to knit into these 3 stitches again. So I'm going to bring my yarn to the back, okay, bring it to the back, and I'm going to bring my needle up front and then just push into those 3 stitches and knit into them. So I'm going to pull out another stitch, but I'm not going to drop it off the needle, nuh-uh. I'm going to purl into them again. So purl into the 3 stitches again. So I'm going to bring my right needle to the back and bring my yarn up front because I'm going to purl. And then we're going to go into these 3 stitches yet again from the top to the bottom as if to purl. Bring my yarn in and then through, and now I've pulled out a 3rd stitch, okay? And at this point, now we are ready to drop these 3 stitches off the needle after they've been gone into 3 times. So I'm going to pop it off the needle. There we go. All right, and that is how we make our bobble, okay? So now we've slipped these 3 stitches off. I'm going to do a knit 1. So I'm going to bring my yarn to the back, and then I will knit 1. And that is the end of our repeat. So we would repeat the instructions between the asterisks to the last stitch. Okay, so let's do that again. We're going to bring the yarn up front and purl into the next 3 stitches. Here we go. Purling into them, and then we're going to bring the yarn to the back and knit into those 3 stitches, bring out a strand of yarn, and then we're going to end by purling once again into those same 3 stitches, pull out a strand of yarn, and then everything can come off, and I'll bring the yarn to the back and do a knit 1. And that is the repeat for row 1. Yarn to the front, purl into these 3 stitches, drag out a stitch, bring the yarn to the back, knit into those same 3 stitches again, drag out a stitch, and once again, bring the yarn to the front to do one last purl into those 3 stitches, and then they can come off. Bring the yarn to the back, knit 1. Okay, so let's work this across row 1, and I think I'm almost done. Let's do that one last time. Here we go. And here we are. And then we're going to knit 1. And then to the last stitch, we're going to knit 1. Okay, there we go. So that is our row 1 complete. Now I'm going to turn my needle over, and row 2 is super easy. Row 2 is just purling all of your stitches. So that's easy enough, right? We'll go into the first stitch from the top to the bottom, yarn is up front, and we're going to purl all of these stitches. Woo! So you earned this little break. Those bobbles were a bit of a challenge, I know. So enjoy this row 2 where you're just purling all the stitches. So I'm near the end of my row 2. Here's my last purl stitch, and there we go. All right, so now I've completed rows 1 and 2 of the Indian pillar stitch. And now we're gonna go right back to row 1, okay? So repeat rows 1 to 2, and you will have Indian pillar stitch. After knitting a couple repeats, the knitting looks like this. Super cute. And that is how you knit the Indian pillar stitch. Thanks for watching. This is part of the Best Beginner Stitches series. Watch the whole series here or click the link in the description. I'm Davina from sheepandstitch.com, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!